Hi friends, so today we are going to talk about one of the most famous financial education books out there, Rich Dad, Poor Dad by Robert Kiyosaki. This is the book that started it all. It's the book that made Robert Kiyosaki famous, and it has sold more than 32 million copies worldwide and has been translated into 51 different languages. So in this video, I want to share with you my summary of the main points from the book. Let's get into it. The book starts off with Robert describing his two dads. One is his biological father, who was his real dad. He was an educated man. He had a bachelor's degree in medicine and a master's degree in pharmacy, and he worked for the state of Hawaii as a government chemist. The other dad is the father of his best friend. And this dad became Robert's mentor when he was just 13 years old. He owned several businesses and he was a multimillionaire, even though he didn't have any college degrees. This dad became Robert's role model and the one that inspired him to become financially free. The first part of the book talks about how our schools teach us to work for money instead of teaching us how to make money work for us. We are taught to become highly skilled workers so we can get a good job and get promoted. But this is not the way to become financially free. Becoming financially free requires financial education. And unfortunately, our schools don't teach us anything about it. They teach us how to be a good employee. They teach us how to be a worker bee, but they don't teach us how to think as an entrepreneur, as a business owner. That's why when we graduate school, most of us are still clueless when it comes to handling our finances or starting a business. We are told that investing is risky and that if we want to invest our money, we should go through investment brokers. So most people never learn how to manage their own money and they end up working for someone else's financial freedom. In order to become financially free, you need financial education. Financial education is crucial, and that's what this book is about, providing you with some basic financial education so you can start learning how to manage your money. Now let me tell you, this book is very basic. There are a lot of things that it doesn't cover. It's just a starting point. There are many other books that Robert Kiyosaki wrote after this book. He also has a whole series called the Rich Dads series, where he teaches various financial topics. So this book is kind of like an appetizer. It's supposed to whet your appetite for wanting to learn more. Robert argues that most of us don't understand the difference between assets and liabilities. Assets put money in our pockets. They make us richer. They increase our cash flow. A liability takes money out of your pocket. It makes you poorer. It decreases your cash flow. So most people mistakenly buy liabilities thinking that they are buying assets. For example, a car is a liability. It takes money out of your pocket to maintain it. It costs you money to insure it, to maintain it, to gas it up. So these are all expenses that take money out of your pocket. Or for example, a vacation is a liability. It costs you money to go on vacation. The only time that something becomes an asset instead of a liability is when it starts putting money in your pocket. So if you rent out your car whenever you're not using it, and it starts making you money, then it becomes an asset. If you turn your vacation home into a business where you can rent it out to people, then it becomes an asset. So assets are supposed to make you money. They are supposed to increase your cash flow. Liabilities are supposed to decrease your cash flow. They're supposed to take money out of your pocket. And Robert argues that most people get trapped because they keep buying liabilities, thinking that they are buying assets. And then they wonder later down the road why they don't have any money. The second big takeaway from the book is understanding the difference between the rat race and financial freedom. Rat race is basically living paycheck to paycheck. You work, you earn a paycheck, you spend that paycheck, and then you have to work again to earn another paycheck, and then spend that paycheck, and then work again. So you are just running on this wheel. You are just like a rat running on a wheel. This is what most people do. They work 40, 50 hours per week to make money. They spend that money, and then they have to work again to make more money. So they never break free from this cycle. Financial freedom, on the other hand, is when your investments, your assets, are making you enough money so you don't have to work anymore. Your investments are making you money even when you're not working, so you can live off your investments and you don't have to work anymore. You are no longer a slave to money. Money is now a slave to you. Now, the problem with the rat race is that when you compare yourself to other people who are also on the rat race, you think that you are doing okay. You think that you are making enough progress. But once you understand what financial freedom is, you realize that you are far behind. So that's why a lot of people read this book and then they say, oh, I'm broke. But when you compare yourself to people who don't have any money, yeah, you might feel bad. You might feel like you are broke. But when you compare yourself to financially free people, when you see what it means to be financially free, you realize that you are really, really behind. The third big takeaway from the book is the importance of having financial goals. If you don't know where you're going, how will you know when you get there? If you don't set goals, you will always stay on the same spot. And Robert argues that we all have two, a comfortable life plan and a financial freedom plan. Most of us follow our comfortable life plan. We just want to be comfortable. We don't want to struggle. We don't want to take risks. We just want to play it safe. But those who become financially free follow their financial freedom plan. They set financial goals. They focus on achieving those goals. And once they achieve those goals, they set new financial goals. So goal setting is extremely important if you want to become financially free. The fourth big takeaway from the book is understanding the difference between the mindset of the rich and the mindset of the poor and the middle class. Poor people and middle class people tend to work for money. They tend to trade their time for money. They tend to think that money is hard to make. That's why they have to work so hard to get it. They think that rich people are greedy and they got lucky. That's why they are rich. But actually, rich people think differently. Rich people think that money is easy to make. They think that there is plenty of money out there. It's just that poor people and middle-class people are doing things that prevent them from getting that money. So rich people, they think of creative ways to make money. They think of smart ways to make money. They don't just work hard for money. The last thing that I want to talk about in this video is the concept of paying yourself first. Robert argues that we all have three: our basic living expenses, savings, and investments. Basic living expenses are things like food, clothing, shelter. Savings is money that you save to pay for future expenses. You know, maybe you want to buy a house someday, or maybe you want to retire one day. So you save up money for future expenses. Then there is the third category, which is investments. Investments are things like stocks, real estate. So what Robert recommends is that you pay yourself first. So before you pay your basic living expenses, before you pay your savings, you want to pay your investments. You want to invest first, then you pay your savings, then you pay your basic living expenses. And this is how you become wealthy. This is how you grow your investments. By the way, I have an entire video on the concept of paying yourself first. So if you want to learn more about it, you can check out that video. So these were the main takeaways from the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Like I said earlier, this book is very basic, but it's a great starting point if you want to learn about personal finance and if you want to learn about financial education. There are a lot of people who say that this book changed their lives. I personally think that the biggest flaw with this book is that it gives very general advice. It doesn't go into too much detail, but I guess that's the reason why Robert wrote a whole series of books. After this book, he goes into more details. In his other books, he covers a lot of topics. He teaches you a lot of things. So this book is just meant to whet your appetite for wanting to learn more. Once you read this book, you will have a lot of questions. Trust me, that's normal. And that's when you go and read his other books or you watch other videos. You learn more about the topic, you ask questions, and that's how you become financially educated. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and I'll see you guys next time.